created just 4 months ago. And it was created to give voice to the private sector. And it's really nothing much more than that. The idea being that parents and employers and citizens and property taxpayers deserve to have the same voice in the governance of their public schools as the entrenched interests which have dominated policy for years and years. So with that, our goal is not to go create a charter in West Little Rock. Our goal is to empower you to make the best choices for your kids. And just a personal sidebar, I'm not from Little Rock, but I lived here from 1983 until 88. I then left and went to New York and Los Angeles, came back here in 2005. And we came back here for a better life for our kids. And when we found otherwise, particularly in regard to the schools, we knew we had to get busy and do something about it. What we found was, we thought if we just presented rational arguments and we laid out the case of the needs of public school students all over the city, that the board and others in authority would hear our pleas and make the right decisions. And those of you that have been fighting this fight for a long time recognize that's not always the case. So with this, this effort was, in full disclosure, I want folks to know we were started by an initial grant from the Walton Family Foundation. And the Walton Family Foundation has been deeply invested in public education reform and charters and education excellence all over the country for many, many years. The only thing they said to me, and I'm an old Chamber of Commerce guy, and when they asked me to do this, it's because I opened my big mouth about my own kids in regard to education, that they wanted a group to do just exactly what I described at the outset. The foundation's instructions to me and others involved in our organization was never about you do this, 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 and this. It was all about the results being excellence in education for all students. So with that, I felt ignorant about charter schools. I felt late to the game. I didn't know anything about them. When we were fighting our own fight with our own children, I came to this rather late. And so it's been an education for me to find out, wow, there is actually a public option available to us as parents, tuition-free, public, open enrollment options that I didn't know about. And so I figured if I didn't know about it, I'm sure a lot of my friends and colleagues didn't know anything about it. So we started down this path to explore the options. Our fondest wish is that tonight is the beginning of a movement to create an open enrollment, public, world-class charter for this part of our community. But at the same time, that the competitive pressure that this brings lifts up the entire district and raises public education excellence for everybody. So I want to make that very clear. We're not looking myopically to simply take care of our own personal needs. We firmly believe that the best way to get to change is to initiate it. And so in this regard, we don't have to ask permission to do something like this. We can start down the path. We don't have to get permission from our local school board to create a public school. We do have to get permission ultimately from the Arkansas State Board of Education. And so with that, our only goal with tonight is to answer your questions, perhaps dispel some stereotypes, and hopefully we leave here tonight with a charge that we can take control of providing excellent choices for our kids. The way we do that is through numbers. And you can see we started our first meeting at the Arkansas Public School Resource Center. Virginia, 7 people, 7 parents. And from that, from their contact list, from social media, we have all of you here tonight. And again, I want to thank the Chenal Valley Church. This is in no way affiliated with the church. It's simply we needed a place to meet. And they were kind enough to open their doors to us here tonight. So with that, I want to introduce you now to one of my colleagues. Virginia Walden Ford is a native Little Rocker. That's my word for it, literally.
Yeah.
Virginia has a wonderful and interesting background. She was part of the the second wave of integration in Central High in the 60s. When was it 120 students?
135.
135 African-American students were chosen to reintegrate Central High. It's one of those unknown or forgotten stories. Not only did she do that as a child with the support of her parents, her father was one of the first African-American central administrators in the Little Rock School District. The very first. Her mother integrated Forest Park Elementary School.
Robinson.
Was it Robinson? Look at me. I should just let her tell this story. She comes to this. She then has 3 children. She became a public school choice advocate in the Washington, D.C. schools. And she will tell you more about her story. But ultimately, it led to working in the D.C. schools for choice, to creating opportunities for those kids, working side by side with folks, luminaries in this world like Michelle Reed and others. She's a Heritage Fellow, and we're very privileged that she has moved back to her native Arkansas and is now helping us organize. In other words, mobilizing parents all over this state to take control of their public education choices. So with that, my friend Virginia Walden Ford.
I'm really glad to be here tonight. It's so exciting to see so many of you out here. As Gary told you, well, he didn't tell you this, I've been back about a year. And I was in D.C. 30 years and raised my family there, and at some point found that I had to fight for my kids, and specifically for my youngest son. So I got really involved in doing a lot of research on just what my rights were. I think I was sharing with them today, I think somebody told me as a parent I didn't have any right to speak out for my kids. You know, that I wasn't from D.C., you know, there are other people that can handle this, you know. You don't have to worry about it, you just have to do what we tell you to do. That's not exactly what I was going to take in here. I had my kids, and I had every right to do whatever I could to ensure that they got a quality education. And so I did. And so I fought hard. And probably had, you know, the reputation as a crazy parent. You know, we get those reputations when we speak out for our kids. You know, somebody always is really negative. And I welcomed it. And I said, you know, bring it on. You know, you call me what you want, but Michael, Maisha, William, and then another group of kids, 5 stepkids, are going to get the best education possible, whatever you call me. And those kids got the best education DC could offer them in public schools and private schools and charter schools. I homeschooled one child. So we took advantage of every option. So, you know, I know how important it is to make sure that we as parents are looking at what's the best possible thing for our children. So I came home a year ago, and the Walters also fund me, and I started the Arkansas Parent Network. And what we're doing is we're going around the state and we're talking to parents about your rights. You have every right to say, I don't like what's going on in my community. I want something different. Or I like what's going on in my community. I just want some more. I want options. And so we've been going around the state all year doing that. My first meeting, and it was just so pleasant. I was invited to come speak to a group of people, parents in Bentonville, and I hadn't been to Bentonville in 20 years. 2 of my sisters went to the University of Arkansas, so, you know, we were kind of back and forth up in Fayetteville. And so I drove up there and saw the new highway and had a pleasant trip, and met with about 100, a little over 100, of the most wonderful parents who, what they wanted was what you want and what we wanted. The best possible education for their children. But they had a lot of questions about charter schools. And I think we were there a couple of hours. I think I planned on being there like 20 minutes, Monty. And because everybody had lots and lots of questions. And they took that and ran with it. And they actually got a charter and are opening a middle school. It'll start with middle school, but it's K through kindergarten to 12, but they're going to say what about it. And in the fall. And this was parent-driven. So, as Gary and I talked about you guys, and I met with that first sibling, and I saw the frustrations about, interestingly enough, when I was growing up in Arkansas, this parlor didn't exist. This was the woods. So it's really, kind of exciting seeing the city. I'm really proud of Little Rock and how it's grown and progressed. And so I want to be as much of a help as I can be and bring whatever wisdom I have to you to accomplish what your goals are and your goal to have the best possible educational environment for your kids. So we invited Cindy and Bethany to come talk to you about this parent-driven effort because they have proven that if your voices are raised in support of the best education, we said this a lot, for your kids, you can be successful. I was at the hearing where they got the approval of their charter a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't have been prouder. I didn't do anything, but I couldn't have been prouder. And so they've come here from Bentonville today to kind of share their journey with you. They're going to both talk a little bit, and then we're going to ask you to think about what everybody's been saying, Gary and myself, and answer questions. That's what we're here to answer some of the questions, and to even more, to talk a little bit more about what charter schools are. Currently, there are thousands of charter schools. Every state, 50 states, I believe, have charter school laws. In the District of Columbia, there are 90, now the district is not that big. And it's a lot of people, but it's not big land-wise. And there are 99 charter schools. There are 56 schools on 99 campuses, so some of the schools have multiple schools. And 51% of every child in Washington is in a charter school. And these are phenomenal schools, and they really are. So, but I remember not too many years ago standing before a group of Washington, D.C. parents. I think the first 18 charter schools opened up in D.C. in 1998. And standing before them and saying, ask questions. What do you want to know? And that's what we have opportunity to do here tonight. So, Cindy Palin and Bethany Culpepper, they're going to both come up and talk to you a little bit and share their journey with you. This is Cindy.